Welcome to Entrepreneurship Made in Brazil. On this channel, we explore the stories of Brazil companies that inspire, innovate, and sometimes struggle, but always teach us valuable lessons about business. In today's video, we'll talk about Embraer and how it became Brazil's biggest aerospace company. In 1969, Brazil had a bold vision to prove that a developing nation could build world-class aircraft. What rose from a government-backed dream in the industrial city of São José dos Campos would eventually become one of the world's largest aircraft manufacturers. This is the remarkable story of Embraer, from the Bandeirantes' first flight to an $11 billion company. The story begins on January 8, 1931 in Bauru, São Paulo, where Ozier Silva was born. As a child, Ozier had a dream to reach the sky. With his inseparable friend Zico, he wondered why doesn't Brazil manufacture its own aircraft. According to the magazine Aviation Strategy in an article published in 2001, in 1948, at 17 years old, Ozier took his first step towards answering that question by joining the Escola Preparatória da Aeronáutica in Rio de Janeiro, which had ties to the Brazilian Air Force. By learning how to fly a plane, he thought he would learn how to build one, and he was far from wrong. Later in the 20th century, Ozier Silva would eventually become a Brazilian Air Force major in aeronautical engineering, graduating from ITA, Instituto Tecnológico de Aeronáutica. In 1968, Ozier led the development of the EMB-110 Bandeirantes prototype, a twin turboprop aircraft designed for both civilian and military use. After presenting his new invention to investors, private companies refused to manufacture the aircraft. But after a coincidence created by the malfunction of the presidential aircraft, Ozier was able to set deals with the Brazilian government with the help of the elected president Artur da Costa e Silva. On August 19, 1969, Embraer was born as a state-owned enterprise. The Bandeirantes became Brazil's first commercially successful aircraft, proving that the country would compete in aerospace manufacturing. By the 1980s, Embraer had delivered over 500 units globally, establishing respect and credibility in international markets. According to an article published by the Policy Center for the New South in 2019, the 1990s brought a crucial transformation. Facing financial challenges, the Brazilian government privatized Embraer in 1994. This change from state ownership to private enterprise would prove to be the catalyst for their unprecedented growth, allowing Embraer to rebuild and reshape its business model and build stable relationships within the market. In 1991, recognizing the gravity of the situation, the government brought Ozier Silva back to the lead. Embraer is going through this critical transition. Ozier understood that privatization was not only a financial necessity, but also an opportunity to fundamentally change how Embraer competes in the global market, as stated in a case study by Fundação Getúlio Vargas in 2012. Embraer's post-privatization methods and goals turned towards global projects aiming for advanced products like the ERJ-145 and the E-Jet families. The privatization process was successful in 1994 when a group of Brazilians and international investors acquired control of Embraer. This was not only a change of ownership, but it was a strategic rebranding that allowed the company to explore critical market gaps that the government ownership had prevented the company from pursuing. In an article published by Jotme in 2008, it is explained that after 1994, Embraer's supplier relationships became global, with technology and financial risk shared investor approaches that were not possible as a state-owned enterprise. Corporate Jet Investor in 2015 reported that this change allowed Embraer to forge strategic supplier relationships that the government ownership had complicated. Private ownership meant the company could negotiate competitive partnerships with international engine suppliers like Rolls-Royce and avionics manufacturers without the diplomatic struggles that had limited state-owned companies. These partnerships reduced supplier power by creating mutual dependencies. The suppliers needed Embraer's aircraft, while Embraer needed their technology. Euronews, in an article published in 2022, confirms Embraer's R&D partnerships with global suppliers as a private company and its struggles. The newly privatized Embraer immediately recognized a massive opportunity in the regional aviation market. Airlines worldwide were struggling with a fundamental problem. Existing small turboprops were too slow and uncomfortable for passengers, while large commercial jets from Boeing and Airbus were too big and expensive for thin routes connecting smaller cities. As noted in an article published in Science Direct in 2017, This market gap drove Embraer's strategic focus on regional jets. This opportunity became Embraer's primary target. Understanding that new companies entering the aircraft manufacturing industry face enormous barriers, requiring billions of dollars in development costs, decades of paperwork, and already established relationships with suppliers and customers, Embraer used a 25-year foundation as a competitive advantage. Embraer's historical material highlight the legacy, experience, and established relationships were key differentiators during this time period. Unlike startups, Embraer already had engineering expertise, manufacturing quality, and mainly government relationships that provided credibility with international regulators. Regional airlines were the perfect customer base for Embraer's new strategy. These buyers had significant power to the individual level, but their collective need for the right-sized aircrafts gave Embraer the advantage when negotiating. Airlines demanded fuel efficiency, passenger comfort, and operational flexibility, requirements that existing turboprops couldn't meet and large jets overcomplicated. This is supported by Embraer's official commercial history, which details how ERJ jets were aimed at these specific needs. These problems resulted in Embraer developing the ERJ145s. This aircraft represented everything the new competitive market demanded, a 50-seat regional jet that filled the gap between turboprops and mainline aircraft. The timing was perfect as well, since no other competitor was seriously competing in this specific segment. As reported by CNN Brazil in 2021, the ERJ145 was vital in revitalizing Embraer in the late 1990s and filled a unique market role. The ERJ145 family became the result of the privatization catalyst effect. According to another article published in Science Direct in 2017, over 1,200 ERJ135 and 45s were delivered globally following privatization, making Embraer a serious player in the market. Over its production run, 1,231 aircraft were built and operated by more than 60 airlines worldwide, summing more than 26 million flights. The success proved that privatization did not only save Embraer, it had allowed the company to dominate in a niche market that was unreachable before. By the decade's end, Embraer had changed from a financially struggling state enterprise into a competitive private company focused to challenge established giants. The privatization catalyst had worked exactly as Silva viewed. Industry reviews in Simple Flying in 2025 confirmed this turnaround and ongoing strategic expansion. Embraer's peak came with the E-Jet family introduction in 2004. The E170, E175, and E190 and the E195 models closed the gaps between regional and international aircraft. They seat 66 to 124 passengers. The E-Jets achieved remarkable success with over 80 airlines operating the family and a 99.9% mission completion rate. This remarkable success is described in Simple Flying's overview of the E-Jet program. The aircraft's 2x2 seating configuration, oversized windows, and fuel efficiency made them popular with both airlines and passengers. This made Embraer lead the market in their category, holding 45% global market share, showing their strength inside the aircraft industry. This dominance does not come only from their design innovation and reliability, but also from its substantial advancement in research and development, such as the $335.7 million allocated to R&D in 2022. Furthermore, Embraer's diversified portfolio is quite impressive, but beyond that, it is diverse, from luxurious executive jets to military defense projects, allowing it to adapt into any kind of industry demands and market changes. FAPESP's research magazine discussed Embraer's ongoing innovation and diversification, from executive jets to defense projects. However, Embraer also faces notable weaknesses that represent their ongoing challenges. These ongoing industry risks are discussed in recent AIAA, the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, report regarding Embraer's performance in 2025. Supply chain restrictions have repeatedly impacted aircraft production processes, as the company must rely on a complex network of global suppliers and logistic partners in order to deliver finished jets on time. Competition inside the aircraft industry remains intense, particularly from Boeing and Airbus, who compete in the larger aircraft segment and can affect Embraer's market share. Finally, like all other major aerospace companies, Embraer is vulnerable to the cyclical nature of the airline business. Economic downturns and unprecedented crises can greatly affect airline purchases and investments. Nowadays, Embraer stands as the world's third largest commercial aircraft manufacturer. Aerotimes reports in 2025 notes Embraer's unique market position and long-term dominance. Numbers show an impressive story of growth and market dominance that are justified by the decades of strategic positioning. In 2025, Embraer achieved remarkable performance milestones. The company reached a record order backlog of $29.7 billion, representing an all-time high. This performance was further reinforced by delivery numbers. In the second quarter of 2025 alone, Embraer delivered 61 aircraft, making a substantial 30% increase compared to the same period in 2024. These historic figures are confirmed by LATAM's financial reporting. The strength of Embraer's diversified business model becomes evident when examining the breakdown across all operational segments in the second quarter of 2025. Most notably, its commercial aviation segment alone achieved a backlog of $13.1 billion, its highest level in 8 years, reflecting the continued demand. The executive jets division contributed $7.6 billion to the overall backlog, demonstrating robust demand in the private aviation market. Defense and security operations added $4.2 billion, showing the importance of military contracts and government relationships, while services and support rounded out the portfolio with $4.6 billion, highlighting the recurring revenue potential from maintenance and support contracts. Through a subsidiary called Eve, the company is developing electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft for urban air mobility. The project is called eVTOLs. With almost 3,000 pre-orders from 28 customers across 9 countries, certifications are expected by 2027. The company targets delivering 100 commercial aircraft annually by 2028, despite supply chain challenges. Recent media releases from Embraer confirmed this future-focused project and order numbers. Embraer's vision extends beyond traditional aviation. It aims to develop not only the aviation business, but also sustainable mobility solutions that will reshape how people move through urban environments. The company recognizes that the future of transportation lies in integrated systems that combine traditional aircraft with innovative, eco-friendly solutions. This ambition is explored in industry commentary and corporate strategy reports of 2025 in Simple Flying. From a curious boy in Bauru asking why Brazil couldn't build aircraft to creating an $8.74 billion aerospace empire, Ozier Silva's journey represents the power of innovative vision, education, and perseverance. His story proves that transformative leadership combines technical mastery with determination. Today, with over 9,000 aircraft delivered to more than 100 countries and 60 armed forces, Silva's vision has become Brazil's greatest aerospace achievement. Through education, persistence, and patriotic vision, Ozier Silva transformed that impossible dream into a global reality.